report, and the power of ones, oxygen, Nutrimeds, energetics, technology, and stem cells is the power to heal. And we're talking about this. Bruce, your hyperbaric dive machines are amazing, and I see so many, I call it Imagineering, just like Disney Corporation. There's so many things you can do with your system. We've just recently talked to a gentleman, first name is Iman, up in Los Angeles, that wants to take an idea that I talked to him actually some time ago, and I've talked to other people that did it yourself, that there's so many uses for your advanced, ergonomically superior chambers, whether they're in ambulances or you put them in a bus and we literally drive to an area where people can get treatment either at their home or in an area that's close to their work or their home. Combining that with, say, morphogenic field therapy like the X-Vitalizer was research from Dr. Nemtsov of the Nonlinear Russian Center that worked on the Metatron, which later called the ATLRIS, with Michael Chen, our engineer in China. There's lots of opportunities here. The thing is, there's nothing like oxygen under pressure. And I tell people, it's not, you don't get more benefit. In fact, one of the things that the gentleman Iman asked yesterday was, is there a benefit to going to 1.5 atmospheres of pressure or, say, 3 atmospheres? I said, no, actually, I believe that the human body, when you start to get some oxygenation, it is not just the oxygenation effect in the tissues, which is also, we combine it with a little bit of augmentation to save another 5 or 6% with a oxygen concentrator, but adding ozone as well. The primary signal is what we call epigenetics. You're not only raising the redox of tissues that are sick, and I call it the weak link syndrome. If you have a number of men on a rope pole, and one of the men is 93 years old and he's pretty weak, and it's a chain, he's going to be the first one to break. But if you can give him vitamin shots and muscle him up, he's going to be able to hold his part in the chain, so he's not going to break. The problem is when you feed the body with oxygen and nutrients, the healthy tissues will suck up those nutrients really well, but the dying man on his deathbed is not going to digest his meal. When you start taking that dying man, though, and giving him the right oxygen and penetrating tissues that are not being perfused, you give him nutrients to raise the redox potential and the ability of stem cells to rebuild him. He then becomes strong enough, he gets out of his hospital bed, he starts walking around the hospital, he says, adios, I'm out of here. I'm not going to the morgue, I'm going on vacation. And now that same principle can be used for hyperbaric oxygen. There is no health condition that cannot be benefited by mild hyperbaric oxygen. And we're going to go head to toe. If you have an inflammatory scalp disease, let's say tinea ovale, causing scalp dermatitis, if you've got lupus, if you have autoimmune disease, if you had radionecrosis of your bones from proton therapy or x-ray therapy for your tumor with cobalt-60, if you had a cardiac bypass and had ECMO, so you had microclots to your brain, so your brain had what we call post-ECMO syndrome. If you have congestive heart failure, hypertension, chronic obstructive lung disease, inflammatory bowel, peripheral neuropathy, obesity, and diabetes, if you have any condition, chronic hepatitis, hepatitis B or C, chronic fatigue syndrome, autism, post-traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder where you have seizure of the basal nuclei of your brain, your amygdala and cingulate gyrus, etc., there is no health condition under the sun that will not be benefited. And I remember when we had the short list that we were persecuted in the state of Colorado because we were expanding that list beyond the short list that they called considered standard of care at the University of Colorado. And what they would do, of course, and then we had a 3-atmosphere chamber, but we were reversing retinitis pigmentosa, post-traumatic brain disorders, people that had post-chemotherapy, immune system failure, peripheral neuropathy, you name it. There was virtually no condition that combining with the right, we call, and we talked about this yesterday with Dr. Bob Dennis, who'll be back on later this hour, the right signal and the right substance. But beyond signal and substance, you need what's called power. And like any engine, if you don't have oxygen, you can't drive the engine. And so, Bob, tell us, Bruce, why the mild hyperbarics is so important, and why do you not have to go to 3 atmospheres or 1.5 atmospheres? Why is one, I call the sweet spot for healing, even for toxicity from 3 atmospheres oxygen, the treatment is actually mild hyperbaric oxygen. So if someone has, quote, had the bends years before, and they have post, bends or nitrogen narcosis syndrome, The treatment is actually to hit a mild hyperbaric chamber and be getting in it every hour, an hour a day for many months. So we have people that have had that. I just consulted with somebody last week, and he had post-bend syndrome. He's been sick for years because he used to be one of these, deep divers working on oil rigs, and he's pretty screwed up. And I said, one of your treatments besides the Nutrimeds is you need a mild hyperbaric chamber to heal your body from the damage done by the bends.
Well, the difference between mild and high pressure they're using 100% oxygen, because if you used ambient air like we do in the mild chambers, you would cause the bends, and that would make treatment times 6-7 hours as you've got to bring them back down. So they use 100% oxygen, which is very dangerous, very flammable. There's been many accidents, and only in the hard shell chambers with fires because of that 100% oxygen. So here we have the best of both worlds. We have ambient air, so it's safe, no flammability issues, and we have that extra 30% of pressure dissolving it into the body fluids. Now
here's an important point that what I did is I
address so much oxygen at once. So 100% oxygen surrounding it versus 50% really doesn't matter.
Exactly. Now, here's an important point. When we had them, we knew that the free radicals, when you put somebody in 100% oxygen, your mitochondria go crazy, generating a huge surge of free radicals. So we were actually giving injections of melatonin liquid, intravenous melatonin, as a super antioxidant. We're also giving things like glutathione. And, of course, glutathione doesn't stay around. We were doing it to buffer the person, so we knew putting them in oxygen was a toxic assault on their body. So oxygen generates a whole lot of free radicals unless you have just mild oxygen, and then you don't get this massive surge of free radicals. You get the epigenetic signaling to tell the body to make new mitochondria. In fact, the most powerful stimulus to make new mitochondria and to get stem cells released to activate them is mild hyperbaric oxygen, not high pressure oxygen, mild. And it really is amazing, and especially if you add a little bit of augmentation, 5-6% with the oxygen concentrator, and add ozone. And by the way, we have a new machine we're going to be launching that's superior and better priced than the Go Healthy Next ozone generator, and that'll be available very soon. So hold off on your worries. We have a superior machine at a better price that you're going to be able to purchase here at Nutrimedical, and I do recommend you use a mild ozone generator hooked up to your compressor for your hyperbaric dives. But there really is no health condition, whether it's glaucoma, retinitis pigmentosa, traumatic brain injury, chronic sinus infections, where you look at the sinus CT scan and say, oh my God, on the coronal section CT, they've got inflammation of the sphenopalatine fossa with bone infection. Believe it or not, bone infection with fungi, nanobacteria, and other infective organisms growing in the bone. So you got osteomyelitis of the bone of the sinus cavities. And people don't realize mild hyperbaric oxygen is one of the treatments that's essential to actually reverse that bone infection, osteomyelitis, along with the Sinupulse using our Nutridyne and things like that. And so people should understand that mild hyperbaric oxygen, if you've got any health condition, you've had a cardiac bypass, you had chemo, you have an autoimmune condition, you got lupus, you got chronic problems, whatever you're doing, and you need the right nutrients in first. If you don't have the right substance in your body, you're not going to get the optimal result. And then you can add things like Signal, Micropulse, Lumen Photon, Metathera, PMT100. We can get any of these for you. But you have to start off with oxygen. This is the sine qua non. That's why I call it ones: oxygen, Nutrimeds, energetics, and scalar. Some of the stories we're getting from people who have taken your chambers are amazing. I tell people, it's like when I get my chamber with my little computer, I'm like, I can turn on the speakers, the sidewalls, I can zone out, I can answer people's emails because my brain is working at 300% better than regular, which is pretty manic. So, Bruce, they contact you by calling
612-325-8243.
And call Bruce, and he will take care of you. The very best hyperbaric chambers in the world.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love? Nutrimedical's Life Support has arrived. All of your daily nutritional requirements in one quick, delicious drink. Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support is a proprietary blend of vegan protein, activated vitamins, essential minerals, amino acids, probiotics, green tea, digestive enzymes, anti-inflammatories, cancer prevention, detoxification, and much more. Your body will high-five you for this one. Life Support is the best complete nutritious meal replacement on the market. Whether you are an elite athlete, have post-operative challenges, chronic illness, elderly, or a family that just wants a quick, delicious drink, try Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support for optimized nutrition in one great-tasting smoothie. Just add cold water, almond milk, fruit, or anything else you like. Nutrimedical's Life Support. Try our great-tasting chocolate or vanilla today. Call 888-212-8871 or visit us online at Nutrimedical.com. Nutrimedical.com for the whole family.
There's a man named Dr. Joel Wallach who is anything but your typical doctor, both a veterinarian and naturopathic physician. Doc asks, why does the United States spend more money on healthcare by far and still rank 50th in health and longevity worldwide? He believes that people should empower themselves with a basic understanding of nutrition, take charge of their health, and attain optimal health and longevity through nutrition, not by toxic prescription drugs that lead to side effects and more toxic prescription drugs. Doc Wallach's message is resonating with an increasing number of Americans who are waking up to all the big government, big pharma, and big insurance manipulation of our healthcare system. I'm George Norrie, and I like what Doc Wallach is saying and doing to enlighten people about healthcare. Visit brightsideben.com and listen to Doc Wallach's Deadly Recipes lecture. It makes a lot of sense, and I urge you to join the Brightside Ben team. Go to brightsideben.com. That's brightsideben.com.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 877-345-7645. That's 877-345-7645. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately at 1-877-345-7645. That's 1-877-345-7645. 1-877-345-7645.
Great minds think alike. The network for the independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network. GCN.
What a beautiful world this will be. What a glorious time to be free. What a beautiful world this will be. What a glorious time to be free.
And welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report. And we're going to have Jay join us in a minute. I just want to go over some of our amazing specials. We have some clearance specials. And by the way, when people, we had a few callers say, oh my God, you're not going to cancel Calm Mind. I live on Calm Mind. We're not canceling Calm Mind cherry flavor. What we're doing is we're clearing the Calm Mind flavorless. And we have an amazing special price. If you want to get free shipping and an amazing special price, normally $39.95. We're going to sell it for $27.96 and free shipping. We also have Ageless Energize available. Ageless Energize in a vanilla latte flavor. It's great for speeding weight loss, boosting energy metabolism, for literally, it's again like the Ageless, but it has additional things in it such as the Vitamin Max Minerals Plus, the chlorogenic acid for burning off calories, and things for mitochondrial support. It's an amazing product. We have also Glycemics. The chocolate mint flavor wasn't as popular as the vanilla flavor. We are selling off the chocolate mint, and that is going to be at $55.96, normal price $79.95, and free shipping. And lactose blocker. This is the only neutral pH lactase in the world. We had it shipped in from our supplier in Europe, and this is the only lactose blocker for milk sugar intolerance. We are selling them now for $34.96 and free shipping. And of course, these specials are going to last until the product is gone, and we're bringing on new products. We have the Sports Energy Lights that'll be available probably within the next week. It is an amazing product. I have a big jar on my desk that has large sachets, so check it out. You'll find out if you call our order line or check out these specials. They are going fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. As I say, Jay, you're there. Let's talk about Silver 100. I get amazing, miraculous stories every day from people that have silver, and I just went in on Monday for what I call a deep dental cleaning. Have you ever done that yourself, or a deep dental cleaning where they use YAG laser and everything?
I don't know about laser. That's probably deeper than I've ever had.
Oh, yeah. Let me explain what I went through so you understand. And then I talked to my dental hygienist, who's probably one of the most qualified in the United States. And her dentist is actually my dentist, Dr. Jeffrey Curbs, who I hope to have in the program. He's a biological dentist, one of the top cosmetic dentists in Southern California. He's actually rated the third most popular and qualified dentist in Southern California for like 30 million people. So this guy is top. And I told him about the Silver 100. I said, this stuff is hundreds of times stronger than any other silver because it's the actual lethal form. And, of course, my hygienist and dentist get really excited because they want to know about new technologies that's safe. They have a machine called a hydropulse that changes the charge in the water molecules. It's the same charge as the plaque in your teeth, so it pops it off. But I tell people, brush your teeth with Silver 100. Use a vertical nasal spray in your sinuses for allergies. Take it orally to get rid of gut allergies and to gut pathogens like E. coli and parasites or whatever. Spray it on your skin if you get even a burn, sunburn, or your thermal burn from cooking hot fat on your hand. This Silver 100, you remember now, silver is one of the silver sulfadiazine. I worked in the burn unit. I'm trained as a burn trauma doctor too. And we worked, and when I was in the burn unit in Georgia, in Augusta, Georgia, we used, literally, you'd walk into the burn unit and everything was slathered in silver. And this was an old form of silver sulfadiazine. This silver is miraculous. It really is in a completely different class. When people try to say, our oxy silver or this or that is so good, they're lying fools. And don't listen to them. The chemistry of this, you're the master and expert. You've got some video and audio that we did about a year ago. We want to put this together with a PowerPoint to explain to people this is in a completely different class. What makes this silver so powerful, and why should everybody have it in your car, your purse, your pocket, your backpack? You're traveling, you're going on a plane, so what we call a flying culture tube. You're doing anything, even taking eye care. We tell people put Silver 100 in your eyes to preserve eye function and prevent infection in your eyes. It's part of our Can-See Silver 100 drops, Vision Max, Cell Detox Glutathione Neurogen for your eye care. That's how important silver, and this silver is the only one that is in this class. The only 100% ionic silver in a citrate complex. Tell us about it.
Well, the citrate complex is the key. Well, the two keys are, number one, that it's ionic silver, and number two, that it has the citrate complex, which is the time-release delivery mechanism. And, this field, it's just, your listeners have been listening to us talk about Silver 100 for quite a while, those of your listeners that listen to you regularly, and I know you have a very dedicated, loyal, and very well-informed listening audience. They should probably be starting to understand the fact that we explain the chemistry very clearly and thoroughly and why Silver 100 is so superior. And we have to point out that these other companies are just making whatever wild claims they think will fly with no third-party confirmation, no truth behind it. And one of those claims is that some of them say they have a lot of ions. Well, that's nonsense, number one. Number two, even if they did, the form that it is in, the little bit of ions or a lot of ions they have, is a silver oxide, that's the raw material we begin with. That's the product they end up with. That's what we begin with. We buy silver oxide powder off the shelf, and we, through very specific chemical changes, all natural chemicals, like water's a chemical, but these are chemicals. We know what we're doing molecularly. We take the silver ion off of the silver oxide, marry it to citrate, use potassium as a counter ion. So two things exist with Silver 100 that no product comes close to. Number one, all the silver in that bottle is ionic silver, which is the only bioactive form of silver with any bioactive benefits, period. That is a well-established fact of science. Any company that says true colloid and ions are bad, find any scientist or any scientific article out of the hundreds that exist today. They all are unanimous. The only thing that makes silver bioactively beneficial is the silver ion. Number two, silver ions are useless when ingested orally in the body unless they have a slow-release mechanism to deliver them in the system after exposure to the body's chemistry, or they'll either get two things can happen. If there's no delivery mechanism and they're freely available, they'll get neutralized immediately by chlorides. Or at the other extreme, if it's carried by silver oxide, if it's a silver ion with the oxide and it's a silver oxide compound, it'll never separate and it'll get excreted without ever doing any good. It's like the old story of the vitamin pill that you could see when someone has a bowel movement, you could still read the manufacturer's name on it. That's what's wrong with these other products. Whereas with Silver 100, it's all bioactive silver with the optimal time-release delivery mechanism. So you use tiny, tiny, tiny amounts to get infinitely superior results than you do with any other silver.
Yeah, it really is pretty remarkable, isn't it? One of the things that I think people should understand is when we're talking about these kind of products, we want to rescue people. We're empowering people. That's why I'm writing my book, which is all hours of the day and night I'm working on Dr. U. We're working on new apps so people have their phone or iPad so they can put in their questions, eventually merge it with their QRMA or ATLRIS. Silver 100 is daily cellular hygiene. If you incorporate it in your diet, you brush your teeth with it, you spray it in your nose, you take it ingested for your GI tract, you spray it on skin lesions, you put it in your eye to protect your eye health. There's so many uses for it, it's amazing.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been
And welcome back, and we are joined with our next guest, and we will be talking to Bobby Walton. Of course, Bobby, we carry the Alamax and Alamed. I just want to stick on those two products today. The Alamax and Alamed I think Alamax is one of my wife's, Michelle's, favorite nutraceuticals. When you take this, your body clears with the sulfhydryl group nanobacteria in your teeth, which she loves for her periodontal issues and for general health. When people take these things, they literally don't pick up the viruses for diarrhea from food poisoning, which happens an average of 6 times in Americans every year. They don't pick up the viruses when they fly in a flying culture tube called a commercial aircraft. One of these big silver birds or a commercial airliner. They can go to public places and not be terrified that they're going to pick up some terrible plague virus or bioweapon or just the flu. So, Bobby, how are things going? I guess you've got lots of ways of people to get these nutraceuticals of Alamax and Alamed. But people need to understand when they get them from us, we're going to integrate them into a protocol that's going to explain how to take them, when it's appropriate, and what dosages to take that'll have the proper effects. Can you give us some more background on Alamax and Alamed? Because we've had Peter Josting on the program before, and the science of it is pretty remarkable. These are not just antibiotics. They're antiviruses, anti-psittacosis, anti-parasites, antibacteria. Tell us more about it.
Hi there, Dr. Bell. Thanks for having me on the show today. And yes, you're right. The allicin is antimicrobial. a lot of people decide to take the products necessarily on, for traveling or for specific conditions. And I always recommend to take it on a daily basis to keep your immune system healthy from, keeping you from getting sick when anything's going on, and to just try to build your immune system like you had said. So the Allison is unique in the sense that how it differs and varies from the other, garlics out there is that it's, we're selling the stabilized Allison. We're not, selling a dehydrated garlic product. We're not selling an aged garlic oil. We're selling the actual Allison, which is, formed and from the garlic that is the healthy part, the part that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people, they don't understand the difference between these two things, and they, don't know the variance between the products. But, that's what the Allison does, and that's what differentiates us out from everything, everything else out on the market.
Right.
We also have, a whole line of products,
right.
capsules and...
Yeah, I want to kind of just concentrate on the two biggies, the Alamax and Alamed. Let me give you a story. The typical patient has a little child that has recurring otitis media. That child should be constantly on Alamax every day. And you can open it up if you want to. If they're a little child, give them a capsule in the morning with their smoothie or their applesauce or whatever, and that's all they need. And their body's going to learn to clear the pathogens in their eustachian tubes, their circle of what's called Waldeyer's ring at the base of their throat, at the top of their throat, which includes the adenoids and tonsils. It's going to prevent them from aspirating bacteria down to the respiratory tract, causing bronchitis if they're prone to bronchitis or asthma. In fact, you'll find a lot of people who start taking Alamax, even their asthma goes away. But kids stop having otitis media because it kills off the viruses that cause swelling of the eustachian tubes. It tones down allergies. It gets rid of pathogens in the sinus cavities, including fungi, if you're prone to fungal infections. And a lot of people say out west here, in the San Juan Key Valley or Central Valley, they get coccidium mycosis, and the fungal spores actually infect them. And they're not even aware they don't just have allergies. They get fungi. They got what I call pathogen soup. They get fungi, bacteria, nanobacteria, all kinds of nastiness in there, and chronic viremia, like rhinovirus subclass 3 and other viruses, growing in their sinus cavity membranes, inflaming them and producing an inflammatory mucus that causes problems. So this is important. Periodontal disease, if you're going to the dentist and you're getting a deep cleaning like I did, right up to the YAG laser, take Alamax before you go to your procedure so you don't seed that to your heart valves, and take it afterward every day. I take Alamax every day, and I take it every day because I don't want to end up with plaque in my arteries, because the same nanobacteria that are in your teeth cause plaque in your brain, in your circle of Willis, in your cardiac blood vessels to your heart, in your renal arteries, and the arteries to your legs. And one male in 20 over age 40 has an 85 to 95% blockage of at least one major artery to one leg. And it's caused by the same bacteria that we can knock off with Alamax. If you've got dysbiosis in your gut, you want to take our probiotics, but you want to take Alamax to kill the bad bugs, the bad parasites, the bad pathogens. If you've got chronic bronchitis, you want to clear out those basket cells of all the chronic gunk in there, staph, strep, Proteus, mirabilis, all the different bugs that can grow in your bronchi, and that's where the hygiene comes down to Alamax. So there's nothing like it. And if you've got something really serious, like you got an osteomyelitis of your bone or you've got periodontal disease, bump up to the Alamed. And there's a long history now. This is prescribed as a nutraceutical drug in Great Britain, all of the British Isles, in all of Europe. It's considered a script by a doctor that has to write a prescription, in New Zealand and in Australia. But here, you can just go click, call us at 888-212-8871 or go online, and we'll not only get the product to you, but we'll tell you how to take it, what the appropriate dosage, and how to use it so you get the effects. So, Bobby, that's pretty powerful, isn't it? It empowers people that they can take control. They don't need to go to the doctor every time their child has an infection or they get a touch of bronchitis or sinus infections or periodontal disease and you get a dental cleaning. If you start taking these things, you're going to change the pathway to what's going to happen to your health. And you need to know it's far superior to antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics, antifungals, just take Alamax and Alamed. They're pretty. That's how amazing they are, isn't it?
I agree. I mean, I can't stress enough to people how amazing the product is and, how many wonderful things that it can do for you. People have a cup of coffee every day or their cigarettes or, their other vitamins. This should be in your daily protocol as far as I'm concerned. Everybody should be taking an Alamax or an Alamed a day. I say to keep the doctor away, to keep you out of the ICU, whatever it is that you want to call it. But, we've got, papers written from, Peter over in England on colds and flu and hay fever and, all the products being tested on, staph bacteria, different kinds of MRSA, and these are all pretty serious conditions. And people are starting to research on the internet and source out more natural ways and things to help themselves. And Alamed is definitely one of those resources.
We've been giving it for many, many years. I met actually Dr. Ron Cutler when he visited before I had moved back. I was a couple of years back in eastern Canada in Halifax, Nova Scotia, visiting my mom, who was born in North Dakota, but she's living there because her husband, my dad, was born and lived in Canada. And so she was living there in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And I went back there, and I met Dr. Cutler was coming over for a conference at our local university, Dalhousie, and he actually met me for hours. He's a top infectious disease specialist who's done years of research on Alamax. And we're talking about literally giving Alamax in the intensive care unit where they have a PICC line and central, antibacterial, antifungals, etc. being given, and they're not working, and you add Alamax by a feeding tube, and guess what? They start to work. We can actually prevent the drug resistance from developing. In fact, if the doctors out there are listening, if you give your patients Alamax while you're giving them the medications that you think that they need, which they really won't need, like antibiotics and so on, you're not going to get antibiotic-resistant bacteria developing. It kills them, so there's no surviving bugs that develop drug resistance. That's how important this is. You want to stop drug-resistant organisms? Everyone out there, get your doctor to give Alamax and Alamed. That's how important it is.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree any more with you there, Dr. Bill.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And Alamax and Alamed are available at Nutrimedical with our protocols and wellness.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love?
Okay, all set? Yes, so Dr. Bob Dennis, we're talking about signal and substance. Let's get into that discussion again. We're having a lot of people asking a ton of questions about the micropulse, and we have quite a bit of interest, actually. I wanted you to explain the amazing effect of the research studies that went on with NASA and cell culture in the space station, and how all this is tied together with signal to stimulate healing. We talked about this before.
Sure, yeah. So continuing our discussion, when we first did the work at NASA back in 1996, 97, 98, we didn't really know if any PEMF signals would have any measurable effects. And the truth of the matter is when you use a third-party independent laboratory to test most PEMF systems, they can never detect any measurable cellular metabolic system level changes. Most PEMF systems just don't seem to work. And we know this from third-party testing laboratories. They'll tell you that. So when we did the work at NASA, the first thing we wanted to see was, is there some class of PEMF signals that actually could work, that would work repeatably and would work measurably, both in terms of the metabolism of the cells as well as the gene expression. So we found through two very carefully controlled, double-blinded scientific studies that certain classes of PEMF signals definitely do impact gene expression, metabolism, and even, macroscopic morphology of the cells. A lot of people don't know this, but, the naked eye usually can't see much going on in cells in culture because it's a thin film of cells, but you could visually see the difference in the way the cells were growing much more robustly with certain types of PEMF signals. Nothing hidden here. This is all published. You can look up the NASA technical brief and find out for yourself. It was basically square waves were doing the job. Then we started asking the question, or then I actually started independently asking the question, because I was working on this alone after that. What other parameters would make the most sense to promote cells and tissues shifting over into growth and repair phase? And that's where we start to ask the question of, what's the right signal? The first question was, is there any signal that would work? And the answer was a categorical yes. Then the second question is, what's the best way to deliver that signal? And it took about a decade and a half for me to sort that out. But the answer that I got was that if we deliver that known PEMF signal in a way that simulates the kinds of signals your musculoskeletal system generates during gentle exercise, that has a very potent effect on how the overall system views the way that it needs to be functioning. It goes from being sedentary and degenerating to being, and inflamed, to being in a growth and repair phase. So that's your signal. So what ISIS does is it incorporates the right type of signal, all right, which is the square wave with very specific, magnetic slew rate. It's kind of hard to define. It's a calculus concept. It combines that with the right pattern of signals, which I found is best if it emulates or simulates a gentle exercise. And so there's your signal. And so when you're doing gentle exercise, you have to have the right, you've got the right signal, but you have to have the right substance. So we found that if you're feeding the cells the right things, they respond a heck of a lot better than if you're just feeding them standard cell culture based, what's called basal media. You got to have the right signal. You got to have the right substance.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's how this works. We talked about the Power Ones, oxygen, Nutrimeds, energetic, or we call scalar technology, and we use a simple principle: signal and substance. If someone, let's say, has a joint, I'm going to make this practical, and they've been told by their doctor, your joint's messed up, you're going to need a joint replacement. The first thing we tell people is, number one, you have to combine the best of medicine. If there's fragments of fibrillated cartilage in the joint, they need to go to an orthopedic surgeon and have that joint irrigated and deburred and irrigated out the fragments. They need to have a hyaluronic acid polymer put in, Hylan, which is a very simple procedure. I've done it hundreds of times. And you inject in the joint, you put that in there just to give you time. You start taking your tendon mender, joint performance, collagen max, mountain red velvet, and then you put on your knee the micropulse, and guess what? The rate of healing is remarkable. You regenerate the hydroviscous layer, the cartilage, and the chondrocytes, make the glycosaminoglycans. You get connective tissue of the menisci, the sliding of the condyles of your femur over the tibial plateau improves, and against the patella. Everything improves. The process of inflammation and pain control, the process of improved neurological function and proprioception, the process of activating in the I call the primitive chondrocytes, the primitive collagen-producing cells, we call the tenocytes, that form the tendons and ligaments and connective tissues. The actual, even the fibroblast laying down new collagen, type 29 inside the bone. Everything is revved up because you're increasing the signal. It's basically we call aging and disease is what I call a signal to noise problem. And when you increase the signal and decrease the noise, you turn on the genes to say, hey, I can do this, and the cells and tissues start to rebuild. They need the substance there, the right nutraceuticals, and when they have the signal, you start getting healing like you're a 20-year-old rather than a 60 or 70-year-old. That's what's important, and that's why a lot of people don't want to exercise, because if you get an older person or a person in their 40s that's been doing a lot of athletics and they've got some old injuries and they're not really healed, they're afraid to do things because they know if they turn that ankle again, if they do that shoulder a wrong movement, they're going to end up with a ruptured or inflamed ligament or tendon and rotator cuff, and they've learned before, well, I have to rest it for 3 weeks after going to play golf. You have a problem with chronic tenosynovitis of the shoulder, get a little, and again, right in your company, have the special straps and so on to put their little portable micropulse around your shoulder. Take the right nutraceuticals, and guess what? In a matter of days, your shoulder's perfect. You reduce swelling, increase collagen generation, no longer getting impingement. The proprioception's improved, so the tensor joint, because there's different forces holding that the head of the humerus so it doesn't jam against the rotator cuff, back into a normal anatomical position in different motions, and you can start rehab. You can start playing golf. You can start doing things, and your body then says you can repair the micro injuries so you don't get a macro injury like a ruptured tendon or rotator cuff impingement, or a knee where you got fragments of calcified cartilage floating around tearing the joint apart. So this orthopedic surgeon is smacking his lips like a Rottweiler looking at raw meat saying, yeah, we're going to make the payments on the boat this year.
Well, that's unfortunate, but it's absolutely true. So I can tell you that, every person that we've had give us any feedback for treatment of joint pain, including people who are on the surgical schedule to get joint replacements, have told us that they've had great relief in their pain, and in many cases it really reduces the amount of surgery that they have to have because the inflammation goes down and there can actually be a lot of healing that starts. So that's a good thing. The other thing is, in terms of recovery from exercise, if you look around on the internet, you'll find there are many bloggers who talk about using the MicroPulse ISIS for their high-intensity athletic recovery. So there are actually competitive cyclists and weightlifters who use our device because it allows them to recover from their workouts in half the time.
It's not just athletics, though.
This is a cohort of people who are in there anywhere from their 20s to their 60s.
It's not just athletics we're talking about. You can put it, if you bumped your head and have a concussion, you can put it over your heart if you have congestive heart failure and trying to improve your mitochondrial function. You can put it over your kidneys if you have renal dysfunction, you're trying to regenerate renal function so your glomerular clearance is improving. If you get over 20% function, you don't need dialysis. If you've got inflammation of your liver because you have long-standing hepatitis B or C, if you've got inflammatory colitis or irritable bowel syndrome, again, this technology combined with the right substance, the right Nutrimed protocols, will promote healing like you've never seen. That's how important this breakthrough is, and it's affordable. If you use the code Dr. Deagle, Dr. Deagle, you save $30. And again, the call-in line number to place that order too, that's available is 919-667-8818. 919-667-8818, or go to our affiliates page, front page, top. It says there, MicroPulse, the A9A. This technology now is under $400 with this special, $1,000 off compared to the SomaPulse just last year. That's how amazing this technology is, and it's affordable now. Get it today. Get well.